It is 4 p.m. We're bringing developing news.
And the stories behind the headlines. This is Storycon. I'm Patrick Paez.
I'm Ed Lingao. Some stories we're watching this Wednesday, July 17. President Marcos's approval ratings or approval and trust ratings slide, well, numerically in the latest Pulse Asia survey.
By 2 points.
Statistically insignificant. Yeah. His approval rating is down to 53 in June from 55% in March, while his trust score decreased from 52 to 52 from 57. Ayun ang yung trust rating.
That's 5 points.
Yeah. On the other hand, VP Sara Duterte's approval rating increased to 69%, while her trust score remains at 71. The Philippines and China have signed a new deal establishing a direct line of communication between their presidents. That's according to the highlights of the accord as seen and shared by the Associated Press. In a statement, the DFA says the deal is meant to improve maritime communication mechanisms between Manila and Beijing. The DFA has yet to provide details or a copy of this agreement. And VP Sara Duterte is yet to speak to incoming Education Secretary Sani Angara, but she says they will meet briefly before the DepEd leadership turnover ceremony tomorrow. Duterte resigned from DepEd last month.
Joining us today, Ana Marie Pamintuan, Editor-in-Chief of the Philippine Star, and Storycon's resident political pundit, Ronald Llamas.
Hi, happy Wednesday.
Good afternoon, Ami.
Okay.
Good afternoon.
Ay, hindi ka namin sumagot eh.
Aasarin ko sana si Ronald eh. Dito ka lang resident political pundit ha.
Di ko alam.
Kasi alam mo naman, hot na hot ito kung saan ito na nakakaladkad.
Di ko alam ano ibig sabihin nun.
Actually, kami rin eh.
Okay. Ami, what's on the front page layout of the Philippine Star?
Dagdag lang namin dyan sa hotline ng South China Sea sa kayang Pulse Asia. Sabi ni Vice President Duterte, ngayon lang daw siya nakakitang BP na pinipili umattend ng event. At saka yung statement daw niya, designated survivor is neither a bomb threat nor a joke. So bahala na kayo manghula. Yung hindi daw makaintindi, hindi na siya mag-explain.
Okay, we have a soundbite of that statement coming from the Vice President. Let's hear it. Baka mapaliwanag, may explanation si Ronald. Medyo cryptic pa rin eh. Cryptic pa rin.
Ano, Bisaya?
Hindi siya bomb threat, hindi rin siya joke.
Okay, Ronald, ito, ano tingin nyo?
Karon lang ko nakakita og ganing Vice President na pangita ang iyahang attendance sa tanan mga butang. Dili to siya joke. Dili po to siya bomb threat. I think many missed the point. So, para sa ako, wala ka kasabot the first time, I don't think you deserve an explanation.
Okay.
Okay, did you miss the point? What's the point? What do you think is your point?
Mukhang I missed the point eh.
Yun, you don't deserve an explanation also.
Ami, ano yung point?
Ikaw nga, paki-deconstruct nga. Hindi, baka naman nabalitaan na niya yung resulta ng Pulse Asia. Na umakit actually yung numbers niya when she resigned from the DepEd and TFL-CAC. So she doesn't think, balik siya sa dati niyang gawin, no, na she doesn't think she owes anybody an explanation.
Pero yung Pulse kasi nangyari yung field work noon before she resigned eh. So wala pang kwandon, hindi pa na-factor
Okay, let's go back to that statement and let's quote her, no? I am appointing myself designated survivor.
Designated survivor.
Okay.
So hindi siya joke. So,
hindi siya joke, hindi siya bomb threat.
Hindi siya bomb threat, no?
Okay.
Paano ko naman talaga siya eh? Siya yung in line of succession. At dahil wala naman tayong designated survivor, at yung context ay yung mga threat ng kanyang pamilya at saka mga kalyado, nagmumukha siyang more of a threat than a joke. Dahil sa context. Eh. Diba? Kung wala yung context, hindi naman pag-uusapan yan eh. Pero dahil mayroong context, since last year, may mga destabilization threats, at openly naman sa mga prayer rally, ay tinetrete nila ng destabilization yung presidente, even assassination. So, nagiging pregnant with meaning yung sinabi niya. Na definitely, na-miss ni Ed Lingao yung point.
Oh, bakit ako na naman? Are you a lawyer?
Hindi ka kasi learned eh.
Pero ano,
Hindi nga daw
also her
bomb
point,
threat eh.
also her
Hindi
point
bomb
is ano,
threat eh. So ano nga yun? Paki-deconstruct nga. Designated joker daw siya. Eh hindi rin din joke.
also her point is
So,
ano,
hindi
is parang sa
malaman.
lahat na lang ata ng ano, hinahanapan siya ng attendance. Although SONA, of course, is not just any occasion.
Oh, usually pag SONA naman, dumadalo naman talaga yung BP. Kahit naman si Leni Robredo, nung siya ay BP, kahit dinedemonize siya ng presidente, dumadalo siya. Diba? Dahil State of the Nation siya eh. At concerned lahat tungkol doon. Maliban pa sa merong fashion show dun sa red carpet.
Of course, this is coming from from her, okay, I don't know what the right word is, pero her non-appearance at the Palaro. To begin with, the opening of the Palarong Pambansa in Cebu, where the president was in attendance, but she did manage to show up for the closing ceremony.
Actually, hindi naman siya expected na dumalo. Siya mismo yung nag-confirm na dadalo siya.
Pero hindi siya
Yes.
Pero
tumuloy.
hindi siya tumuloy. So,
And yet, she was in Cebu.
yes.
She was
Kasama
in
niya si Amy
Yes.
Marcos.
Right, okay. Ito naman, SONA, it's also another occasion where everybody's invited.
Yes.
Especially if you're the vice president of the land, but she's also not attending. Huwag daw siya pilitin. Hindi daw kailangan pilitin. So,
Edi wag. Ganun lang naman eh. pero kailangan ko pa rin ipaliwanag ni Amy. Ano yung point?
Hindi turf yan ng ano, no? Turf yan ng mga kaaway niya. Siguro napagod na nakikipag ano, no? Eh, diretsuhin na natin. Napagod na ng plastikan, ano? Kasi may protocol yan. Kung pupunta yung VP, the protocol is nandun siya sa front row, di ba?
Okay.
At yung mga katabi naman niya, alam naman natin kung sino magiging katabi niya ron. Hindi naman si BBM ang magiging katabi niya ron, eh. Pwede siyang ilayo siguro mga 1 or 2 seats away from the First Lady in particular. Pero magkalapit pa rin sila, hindi ba? Tapos right in front of her, nandun si Speaker Martin Romualdez, na alam naman natin na hindi naman sila, well, they haven't been seeing eye to eye since last year.
Tambaluslus nga eh.
Napapaligiran siya ng mga kongresista na tinanggalan siya ng 650 million in secret funds. Marami-rami yung mga
mahirap
samaan ng
gumiti,
loob na
no?
yan, eh. So,
Pag ganun ang
siguro
mga
she just wants
kaharap
to avoid the aggravation, ano?
Yeah, but in the end, it's a SONA. It's not a party.
Yes, it's a SONA. Yun ang sinasabi naman ng mga congressman na it's not an ordinary event, it's not an ordinary gathering. You are the vice president, it's the office, not the person. So, makikita natin dyan kung ano yung personalidad ng mga tao eh.
At ang
Yeah.
pinanggalingan natin dyan, Ami, yung State of the Union ng US. Doon ginaya yan eh. At yung SOTU,
Yes.
yung State of the Union address ng Presidente ng Amerika. Lahat doon makakasama, makakaaway, makakakampi. So, doon pattern yung ating sariling SONA.
in
Walang
this case,
official stand naman ng House eh. Sabi nila, wala pa raw official communication from the Dutertes. Kasi remember, invitado din yung father niya as a former president. Although talagang yung si former president, walang hilig sa mga ganyan-ganyan. So we don't know, hindi pa daw nila alam talaga kung ano yung official. Baka she might show up on Monday, who knows? And her father. Kung magkasama sila, baka pwede, sila yung magkatabi. So hindi nila kailangan na masyadong stressful yung nakapaligid sa kanila.
we can imagine, Ronald, Ami, that if the Vice President did show up or does show up on Monday's State of the Nation address, all eyes, all cameras will be watching
Yes.
her every movement. Ewan ko anong mas maganda na pag-usapan siya ngayon o pag-usapan siya sa Lunes at bantayan yung bawat galaw niya.
Baka mas nakaka-focus sa kanilang mag-ama kaysa sa presidente.
Yes. Actually, maganda yun, di ba? If you are planning to run for any office in 2025, maganda yun sa kanila eh. Kung ako, pupunta ako.
At malamang magkaroon din sila ng counter-SONA. Kumbaga, statement in reaction dun sa magiging speech ng presidente.
Pwede nga impromptu counter-SONA paglabas ng tatay niya. Alam mo naman yun eh. Madali na ma-interviewin yun eh. Tanongin lang siya na reaction, sigurado meron na kagad sasabihin niya. If he will show up, ha?
Pero usually, Ami, sa SONA, merong kwan dyan mga mahigit 30 na standing ovation usually. So, magiging standing ovation kaya yung Vice President?
Oo, mapipilitan siya tumayo. So, mahirap talaga. So, anyway,
hindi na talaga pupunta.
Ami, joining us also on Storycon. Joining us on Storycon is Ana Marie Tabunda of the Pulse Asia Survey. She is joining us to tell us the latest numbers on the performance of our top government officials. Ms. Tabunda? Yes?
Yes.
Hi, ma'am.
Yes. Hold on. Hold on. I'm trying to access the file.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, ma'am, well, we were seeing the results of the survey, at least yung approval ratings for BBM and VP Sara, nasa 2 percentage points yung galaw eh. One up, one down. Pero yung margin of error is also 2 percentage points, 2% eh. So does that mean that statistically at least, hindi significant yung difference o yung change from the last survey?
Yes. 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 The difference is not statistically significant.
Yeah. I think that's curious for a lot of people kasi ang dami nangyari, ma'am, in the last 6 months or the first half of the year as far as the Duterte family and the Marcos families are concerned. So hindi po nagre-reflect, so at least by looking at the numbers, parang hindi nagre-reflect yung mga nangyari, yung impact nangyari dun sa sa survey.
Tsaka, di ba, Dr. Tabunda, nangyari yung fieldwork before yung resignation ni Vice President Sara sa official family as Secretary of DepEd?
I think so, yes.
So, ma'am, yes, bakit walang major movement in the numbers despite everything that happened since January this year in our political life?
Nagtawagan ng pangalan.
The events that happened are not considered relevant to the performance of the officials, but that could be the reason.
Well, ma'am, we also asked that
Di
kasi,
ba
for
nag-resign
example,
siya, no? June 19? Hindi ba nag-resign siya ng 19? Kaya she gave herself 1 month.
19 ba?
well, effective
Hindi ba?
July 19,
Kaya
so 1 month.
July, 1 month eh, oo. So, nangyari na yan during the survey period, yung resignation niya.
It's in the na-catch ng survey period. Survey period was from June 17 to 24.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Bunda, is it also
nakapag-resign na siya
possible
nun,
that...
actually, that period.
Okay, Mr. Bunda, is it also possible na by this survey period, medyo sanay na yung mga tao sa nag-aaway yung dalawa o malamig na yung ugnayan at relasyon ng dalawa? The Vice President, the Dutertes, and the Marcoses.
Mukhang they're quite aware of it and it's not affecting the performance ratings.
O kaya ma'am, naglinyahan na yung mga tao.
Matagal na.
Oo,
Matagal
even
na.
before yung bakbakan this January, beginning ng January, kung saan nagtawagan sila ng pangalan eh, at least yung dalawang pamilya, naglinyahan na yung mga tao kung anong preference nila at wala masyadong pinagbago sa opinion.
Oo. Kaya walang pinagbago.
Or may isa pang teorya, Mr. Bunda, na kasi medyo tahimik yung tatay ni VP nung panahon na yan eh. Well, he's been quiet for the past few weeks actually. At merong mga ibang nagsasabi, actually, he was the one who, he and his sons were bringing down the ratings of the VP earlier, yung previews. Pero ngayon, medyo tahimik sila. You think that was a factor as well na nag-improve actually yung ratings ni VP?
Well, the ratings of VP Duterte have not moved from the previous round in March. So, it doesn't seem to be a factor na tumahimik yung father niya at saka yung brothers niya.
Okay, Mr. Bunda, I wonder if usually when Pulse Asia does surveys like this, kompleto ho to, no? Nandyan yung performance ratings ng mga incumbent officials. We just saw a week ago yung senatorial rankings for the coming elections. Do we have anything by way of, in this survey, by way of presidential surveys?
No, we don't have results on presidential surveys that we can share.
You mean to say Pulse Asia did not conduct a presidential survey for this period?
No, we did not. We don't have our own question on a presidential survey.
Okay. Is it because it's too early or is it because it's too early? Maaga pa?
Yes, it's too early. Presidential elections is in 2028.
Okay. Is it possible na may nag-commission at may rider question regarding the presidential survey doon, Ms. Tabunda?
We have had prior questions, na rider questions, and we're not free to divulge the results. So,
Okay.
Tayo.
May confidentiality pa.
Dito papasok si Head na tayo lang naman.
Tayo lang naman. Ma'am, wala namang nanonood sa atin eh. Yeah. But we do understand, may confidentiality clause yan eh, until may approval from that's the way to release.
So there was a presidential survey conducted, ma'am. But you're just not...
it was just a part of the regular survey.
Right.
May rider question lang. It's just a rider question.
Okay, and those
But
rider...
because it's embargoed, we cannot release the results.
And those rider questions are usually commissioned.
Yes.
Was there a list given to the respondents of names, Ms. Tabunda?
Yes, a list of names was given.
Sino kayo? Mga pangalan. Ito ako lang pinahihirapan.
Kaya mo yan, Bok.
Okay, sige.
Kaya mo yan.
Iniwan ko na nga doon.
Pinapatanong po ni Ronald yan kung sino-sino yung mga pangalan doon.
Ma'am, kahit clue lang daw.
First letter.
Ilang syllables.
Ang magre-release niyan, either yung nag-commission o yung nag-top.
Yeah, it's usually that way naman eh. Yung commission.
First letter, how many syllables?
Ma'am, sige ma'am. Let's go back to BBM and BP Sara Duterte. Talk to us about the trust ratings. I think si Sara stayed at, at 71 unchanged dun sa kanyang trust ratings. But si BBM may galaw.
The movement in President Marcos' trust ratings is still within the error margin. Slightly above the error margin. So may decline ng 5 percentage points.
Yeah, that's 5 percentage points eh. Decline from 57 to 52
That's fine.
from March to June. 5 percentage
Pero,
points.
Dr. Tabunda, ito ba ay nakalink doon sa ibang aspeto ng inyong survey? Yung mga concerns ng mga tao ay inflation, especially food inflation, wages, employment, at saka corruption, yung top 4. Yung ba ay tingin nyo may relasyon doon sa medyo pagbaba?
Baka hindi. Kasi matagal ng concern ng controlling inflation, matagal ng concern ng wages. So baka hindi.
So ano kaya ang dahilan nun? Kasi medyo significant din naman yung 5%, no? Ano kayang dahilan ng pag-slide? Well, it's a slip. Ano kayang dahilan nun?
Well, normal naman na habang tumatagal sa posisyon, lalo na yung pagka-presidente, it's normal that we see slides in their performance and trust ratings through time.
Ms.
It's
Tabunda.
hard to keep hold.
Okay, Ms. Tabunda,
Yes.
52%. Is this net or is this a net number? And how would you...
No, it's not. It's not a net.
Okay. And how would you...
It's not a net number.
How would you describe this performance? I understand in some surveys they would classify things as, depending on the number, as very good, good, or satisfactory. How would you classify these numbers at 52%?
I would think this would be satisfactory.
So mas pasangawa, parang ganun, ano? Parang ganun po, no? Pasangawa.
Kasi 50 something eh.
Hindi naman. At least majority. It's still majority. Approval is still majority trust.
Okay.
Pero saan ba nanggaling? Ibig sabihin, saan nagsimula? After the election in 2022. Medyo mataas, di ba? Around 80? Around 80%? So medyo
I think, yeah.
from 2 years hanggang ngayon, medyo substantial.
By around 30 or a little more less than 30%.
Yes.
Yes. But a factor that can be considered there is the fact that President Duterte has been speaking against President Marcos. That's a factor, and you can see the effect of that, especially in the slide in the numbers in Mindanao.
Oh, okay. So if you break it down according to region, Mindanao saw the biggest decline. By what number po, Mr. Bunda?
Not hindi nag-decline sa Mindanao in this previous round, but you can see that he has lowest, for example, his trust in Mindanao is 35%, while his trust in the other geographic areas, NCR, Luzon, Visayas, ranges from 54 to 59%. So we can see the effect of former President Duterte's attacks on President Marcos, especially in Mindanao.
Okay.
Well, Sara Duterte's trust ratings in Mindanao nasa 95%. That's a pretty huge chunk. Not just a chunk,
Yeah.
it's almost all of it. Ma'am, how does that compare? I'm sorry, I don't have pala the previous survey, the trust survey for Sara Duterte in Mindanao. Bumaba ba yung 95, bumaba ba to 95% or tumaas?
It's the same.
It's the same.
It was 95% also in March 2024,
Okay.
yes. Stayed
Okay.
the same.
Unchanged.
In Mindanao, ha?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. In Mindanao alone.
Unchanged.
Sa Metro Manila po, was there any movement for Sara's trust ratings in Metro Manila? It's now at 60% eh.
No.
Wala rin.
Yes. No, there's no movement. 66. No, that's not significant. The movement is not significant.
Okay, 71% trust rating for VP Sara Duterte. If 52 is satisfactory, 71% is what, Mr. Bunda?
Pardon, what's the question?
The 71% trust
Pardon, what is the
rating.
question?
The 71% trust rating of VP Sara Duterte, that would be described as satisfactory, good, very good, or excellent.
It's pretty good.
Pretty good, night. Okay, at 71.
Ms. Abunda, you mentioned na normal naman sa mga presidente to see their numbers slide, no? Kaya lang ang taas nga kasi ng umpisa ni BBM from 2022 compared to, would you have a comparison, halimbawa with Rodrigo Duterte, who also started out very popular, and in fact, he retired, still popular, and with Noynoy as well, napakataas din ng mga ratings niya. Anong comparison into their third year, entering their third year?
Mas comparable kay Noynoy ang performance at trust ni Bongbong kesa kay President Duterte, kasi President Duterte maintained high performance and trust ratings throughout most of his administration. So the results for Bongbong Marcos and Noynoy Aquino are more comparable.
Okay, thank you for joining the Storycon, Dr. Ana Tabunda, Pulse
thank you.
Asia
Maraming
Research
salamat.
Director.
Thank you.
Salamat po, Doktor.
Thank you.
Okay, Ronald, I think
Yeah.
you were able to recall the previous surveys and how...
Medyo interesting
all
lang,
of them-
Ami, na medyo magkakaiba yung mga previous surveys na lumabas. Halimbawa, yung Okta, for the first time, mas mababa ang... mas malaki ang pagbaba ni Vice President Sara. Yun yung first time na lumabas sa kanilang survey. Yung Publicus, medyo malaki rin yung pagbaba ni Vice President Sara. At sabi pa nga ni Malutikia dito ay dahil sa association with the father. So, maganda rin na makita natin yung mga iba pa na hindi pa lumalabas, katulad ng SWS. At saka hindi ko alam kung meron pang Lilo survey ngayon eh. Dati kasi meron sila pero yung si Juni Lilo ay ambassador na. Hindi ko alam kung meron pa sila. Pero usually yung tatlo ang pinagbabatayan ng marami. Yung Pulse, yung SWS, at yung Lilo survey. Kaya, ayun lang, na-notice ko lang na magkaiba yung mga resulta ng mga survey.
And these surveys are more or less done within the same period.
Almost.
Right? Almost in the same period.
Yeah.
I think Okta and Publicus did theirs quarterly. Pero itong sa Pulse Asia was the last 6 months
Yes.
ang survey nila. Yeah.
Ang medyo weird lang doon sa Publicus ay sinama nila si Chis Escudero, nakakaupo lang. Dito, malinaw, halimbawa sa Pulse, wala si Cheese.
Wala siyang previous ano eh.
Dahil talaga namang wala pang batayan eh.
Meron siyang kasama siya sa survey. I think he did pretty well na 69. Pero walang benchmark from the previous period ata kay Jesus Cadena.
Usually, hindi yan gagawan dahil kakaupo pa lang niya. Wala kang batayan kaya medyo weird yung survey ng Publicus na isinama siya.
I mean, dun sa pulsation survey na ito, wala siyang listing or rating
Wala.
as Senate President of the previous
practically,
survey kasi wala eh.
practically
Hindi
hindi
pa
siya sinama.
estimate eh.
Practically hindi siya sinama.
So that's why there was a blank.
Natingin ko tama.
And the 71% trust rating of the Vice President was described by Miss Ana Tabunda, no?
Very good.
As pretty good ang sabi niya. Siguro pareho na rin ng quite good or pareho na rin ba ng very good yun o hindi? Pretty good. Yan. 71%. More or less, it's also a quarterly survey from March to June. So 71%. Yan po. Okay. And it's normal that the trust rating of the Vice President is higher than the President because syempre mas sinisingil yung Presidente, no?
Lahat ng sisi nasa Presidente. Yung Vice President kasi is basically a spare tire.
Okay. Approval rating, more or less the same numbers we're seeing within the same neighbor. You know, I never understood what the difference was between approval and trust rating. Ano ba yung tinatanong sa tao?
Sang-ayon ka ba sa ginagawa ng sa posisyon versus
may tiwala
ka ba?
May tiwala ka ba
sa kanya?
na kayang gawin niya yung kanyang trabaho? Yung ba yun?
Pero hindi, baka hindi yun ang tanong eh. Sa trust may tiwala ka ba sa kanya? Versus
Ganun lang kasimple.
I suppose, kasi trust
Approve ka ba dun sa ginagawa?
Yung isa, approve ka ba sa ginagawa? Yung isa, may tiwala ka ba sa kanya?
Pero matagal na nila
Pero
ginagawa
consistent naman yung numbers niyang dalawa, di ba?
Hindi
Kahit naman ng
nagkakalayo.
election, mas mataas. Mas maraming boto na ako si Sara. Mas maraming boto na ako si
That's
Sara. In fact, kung isa yun sa mga sama ng loob ng tatay niya, hindi ba? Pinipilit nga siyang tumakbong presidente. Imbis na mag-VP dahil mas mataas ang ratings niya consistently compared to BBM kahit nung kampanya So, nung eleksyon, lumabas nga, mas mataas. Lalo yatang nainis yung tatay niya.
On a different note,
ngayon.
may malaking issue ngayon over sa funds ng PhilHealth.
Oo.
Yes.
Malaking issue dahil malaking pondo.
90 billion ay
Nagrereklamo lahat ng
89.9
tao.
billion.
ay isosole.
Nagrereklamo, hindi, ngayon, may mga statement ngayon na dapat bawasan yung premium natin. Remember, katataas lang recently
Yeah.
Di ba? Tinaasan yung premium natin and suddenly, kaya daw tinaasan dahil nga para madagdagan yung pondo, suddenly we are told, may
sobra
excess
pa.
fund pala.
Pero
Anyway.
tama ba na
Excess
tawagin
fund,
itong
bakit tayo tinaasan?
Excess funds.
funds?
Or unused
Marami
funds.
nagrereklamo ngayon.
Parang hindi naman to excess funds
Unused.
O, teka, ipasok natin ang gas natin.
Sige.
Anyway,
Sige,
in line
pasok
with that,
na natin yung expert.
public spending watchdogs are alarmed over the Finance Department's recent directive. The DOF is compelling GOCCs like PhilHealth to return what they call unused funds to the National Treasury. Let's get the insights of former Finance Undersecretary Chelo Magno. Ma'am, magandang hapon. Welcome to Story Conference.
Yes.
Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat.
Hello. Hello,
Thank you, ma'am,
Professor.
for joining us. Ma'am,
Hello,
good afternoon, Yusek.
mathematics to, saka economics. So medyo kailangan konting hinay-hinay.
Isa muna. Kasi hindi. Definition of terms muna.
Oh, sige,
GOCC ba PhilHealth?
Yes, it's a government-owned and controlled corporation.
Okay. Ma'am, kasi some people are looking at it two ways. One way daw is legal ba siya o hindi na ilipat yung pondong 89.9 billion from PhilHealth back to the Treasury. That's one. The other one is legal o hindi, tama ba na gawin yun?
Okay.
Your perspective.
So, sige. I-discuss natin yung legal basis. Yung circular ng Department of Finance, ang legal basis niyan ay itong provision na in-insert ng bicameral committee meeting ng House of Representatives and Senate dito sa GAA natin.
Yes, ma'am.
The General Appropriations Act of 2024. May provision silang nilagay before kasi meron tayo yung appropriated fund o program. Yung programa ng gobyerno na maaaring lamang ma-execute kung may extra fund yung gobyerno.
Opo.
Traditionally, ang regular source ng funding niyan ay kung may bagong taxes na na-implement, kung may bagong revenue na nakolekta yung gobyerno, nilagyan nila ngayon ng bagong source. Ito yung sinasabi nilang savings ng GOCCs. At binigyan nila ng mandato ang DOF na mag-issue ng circular to do that. That's the legal basis of the action of the DOF. From our perspective, it's illegal because what essentially they're doing with this provision is to amend all the charters, all these laws that created the GOCCs. Kasi malinaw sa charter ng PhilHealth at dun sa ating Universal Healthcare Law, malinaw doon na sinasabi na kung pondo ang PhilHealth, kung may reserve fund siya, dalawa lang ang maaaring paggamitan nito. Either palakihin yung scope ng serbisyo ng mga mamayan, yung mga benepisyo na nakukuha natin, o ibaba yung premium ng taong bayan. So, kung ang sinasabi nila ay legal yung ginawa nilang insertion sa GAA, sinasabi nito, ina-amend lahat nitong batas na to. Pati yung iba't ibang charters ng iba't ibang GOCC. And what we are arguing is, this is illegal because essentially that provision is a rider. Diba? Hindi ka pwedeng magkaroon ng ganitong provision sa isang batas na ang nature niya ay appropriation.
Okay.
So that's the first thing that we are raising. It contradicts what you're doing contradicts sa existing laws.
Okay.
That essentially they cannot amend. Tama ba yung ginagawa nila? Mali po. Even on the basis of principle. Kasi ang purpose nga ng Universal Healthcare Law ay palawakin ang coverage at access sa health insurance. At itong subsidy na to na nililipat sa PhilHealth ay para sa premium ng mga marginalized individuals, yung mga indigents na hindi makakapagbayad ng premium, yung ating mga senior citizens, yung mga mahihirap. Ngayon, kung babawiin mo yan, parang sinabi mo na na-enroll na natin lahat ng dapat ma-enroll, which is not true. Because data shows that at the bottom 20% of yung mga poorest household, 1% lang sa kanilang nagbe-benepisyo sa PhilHealth.
Okay,
so it's an indication of inefficiency.
Can we backtrack a bit?
Sorry.
Can we backtrack a bit? Kasi top of mind, kunyari, for the ordinary person, yung ordinaryong tao, a few news cycles ago, ang alam namin sa PhilHealth, wala ng pera yan. Bakit ngayon we're being told na may excess money? Yun lang po. Can we start with that?
Oo. So apparently, nung nag-present ang DOF, pinakita nila na even with the premium that we are paying, after nila ibawas yung kanilang operating cost, may lumilitaw na pera na neto itong PhilHealth mula sa premium at meron ding mga subsidy na nanggagaling sa gobyerno na hindi nila fully nagagastos. So itong 89.9 billion pesos na to ay mula sa subsidy ng gobyerno noong 2023, noong 2022 at noong 2021. So ang mandato na yan, yung subsidy na yan ay para gamitin, para ma-enroll ang lahat ng mahihirap nating kababayan sa PhilHealth. So from our perspective, hindi natin yung tinatawag na savings. Tinatawag natin yung indikasyon ng inefficiency ng PhilHealth for being unable to do kung ano yung mandato nilang dapat gawin.
So, Yusek, kung i-deconstruct natin itong almost 90 billion na ito, na tawag nila ay excess or savings, ano ito? Saan nanggaling ito? Saan nanggaling itong incompetence, itong inefficiency na hindi nagamit yung dapat ginamit ayon sa universal healthcare, ayon sa mandate ng PhilHealth? Ano
Gusto
itong
ko nga rin
90 billion na to?
linawin na hindi siya discretionary fund just because it's a subsidy that came from the government. Kasi yung paglipat ng pondo na yan ay batay din sa batas. Yung ating sin tax law, yung ating train law ay malinaw na sinasabi na a certain percentage of the taxes we collect from sin taxes, from sweetened beverage are specifically earmarked for PhilHealth. So walang batayan yung sinasabi na dahil subsidy yan ng gobyerno, hindi mo ginastos, pwede nating kuhanin. That's one. Yung pinanggagalingan ng inefficiency ay yung sinasabing datos, binanggit ito ni Dr. Tony Dance, dun sa bottom 20% ng income distribution natin, yung pinaka 20% na mahihirap sa atin, 1% lang sa kanila ang gumagamit at nagbebenepisyo sa PhilHealth. So ibig sabihin, walang sapat na coverage itong mga kababayan natin. So dyan pumapasok yung inefficiency ng PhilHealth, yung pag-enroll ng mga mahihirap dito sa programang ito. That's one. The second one is marami rin tayong nadidinig na complaint. Gusto ko nga makuha yung data. Maraming ospital ang hindi nababayaran ng reimbursement nila sa PhilHealth. In fact, may isa akong kausap na kinuwento na may isang ospital na nagsambuanga dahil sa kakahintay ng reimbursement sa PhilHealth. So itong mga tanong na to ay nagsusurveys ngayon, paano kung nagkaroon ng savings kung 1% of the 20% ng mga hirap lamang ang naka-enroll? That's one. Hindi maayos ang reimbursement ng bayad ng mga ospital at mga doktor. In fact, nagsasara na nga ang mga ospital, umaalis na yung mga doktor sa Pilipinas kasi hindi natin nababayaran. So, what is disappointing here is the executive, instead of forcing PhilHealth to become more efficient, to do its mandate to broaden the universal health insurance program at siguraduhin may health protection, lalong-lalo na yung mga kababayan nating mahihirap, kinukuha yung pera para pondohan yung kanilang mga pet projects. So that's yung disappointing dito sa nangyayaring ito.
So it's both illegal
Professor,
and immoral.
Maalala ko lang, kasi meron ng ganyang, hindi na may scandal, but there were questions raised about the impounding, ang ginamit ng nilang salita nun Nung panahon ni GMA yun Yung kapag yung laging nire-reenact yung budget, di ba? Kaya daw gustong-gustong i-reenact yung budget kasi lahat ng mga unused savings ng mga executive offices, i-declare siyang savings, i-impound ng national government at para magamit na for unprogrammed purposes. Akala ko na bawal na yon. Parang ganyan siya, di ba?
Nagkaroon ng court decision before tungkol sa PDAF. Di ba yung tinry nila na gamitin yung savings for other purposes? Baka si Secretary Ronald Llamas can explain that because at that time he was a cabinet member dun sa PDAF case. No? But what is going on here is in relation to the unprogrammed appropriation. Ito kasi ni-report to, it's documented sa mga deliberation ng Senado. Pagtapos mag-BICAM, nag-report si Senator Angara sa Senado. Kasi tinanong siya ni Senator Coco Pimentel, bakit lumaki ng 450 billion itong unprogrammed appropriation? Sinabi niya, tinanggal namin yung mga priority programs, yung ibang priority programs ng iba't ibang ahensya. Nilagay namin siya doon sa unprogrammed appropriation. Tapos yung mga pet projects ng mga senador at congressman,
kaya
sila yung nilagay doon sa guaranteed, may guaranteed budget. So talaga namang itong aspeto na to, it's also, ito yung nakakagalit Kasi yung mga programa, yung mga priority programs, yun yung nawala ng pondo. Tapos ngayon, nagkukumakain sila to look for funds. I looked at the list, kasama dyan yung halimbawa modernization ng AFP natin, 100 million. Dati nakasama siya sa regular budget. Ngayon, nandun na siya sa unprogrammed fund. It's
tama ba yung sinasabi na part of it will go to the Maharlika? Ito ngayon, tong latest Tama ba yun na
wala naman, they cannot do that. They cannot do that because wala namang nakalagay sa GAA na pondohan yung Maharlika. So, kung makukuha nila yung mga pera na yan, then they should only use it dun sa mga items na nakalista dun sa GAA natin.
Pero pwede siya sa unprogrammed, di ba?
Yes,
dahil nasa na siya, common fund na siya. Pwede siyang gamitin for the unprogrammed purposes.
Yes.
Yan ang problema.
Yun nga, maraming batas yung nababiolate kasi galing yan sa syntaxes natin. At doon naman sa batas natin sa syntax, yung batas natin sa train, malinaw na sinasabing ito specifically kailangan sa PhilHealth gamitin.
So pwede siyang i-challenge legally.
Yes, we are going to file a case before the Supreme Court to question the legality of that GAA provision and the circular of the Department of Finance.
Ma'am, is this the first time that provision was inserted? It has never been used before. I mean, it has never been we've never had this kind of a provision before in the GAA.
No, this is a new insertion. This is the first time we've seen this provision in the budget.
Was there any suspicion when it was inserted that it could be used for anything? I mean, does this come as a surprise now, or was it even suspicious even before?
Well, it's suspicious in the sense na kinwestiyon na nga rin yung constitutionality ng pag-increase nila nung unprogrammed
Unprogrammed fund.
appropriation. Because that's against that's not the mandate of Congress eh. They're supposed to appropriate the budget that the executive identified, diba? But when they increase the unappropriated fund, they essentially increase the size of the pie.
Yeah.
Diba?
Yeah, which is not allowed by the
Congressman
Constitution.
already filed the case against that, questioning the constitutionality. So parang itong kaso na to would be related dun sa mga first cases na na-file.
Yes, ma'am. But also, ma'am, a technical question. I think you touched on it before a little while ago. Pero yun nga, you have, for example, the Universal Healthcare Act, which bars something like this. But you have a more recent law, which is the GAA of 2024, with a provision that allows it. How do they, pag nagbanggaan yung dalawa, how is it resolved? Is there any rule of this?
So titingnan niya ng Supreme Court kung yung provision na to na dinagdag nila ay rider nga ba o hindi. So ang rider ay yung mga provision na inconsistent dun sa principle ng batas. Kasi dapat isa lang yung tema nito. In this case, ang ginagawa nila ay i-amend lahat ng existing laws governing different GOCCs, the Universal Healthcare Syntax the train law. So we are arguing na rider itong provision na to na ini-insert ng Kongreso. So kapag ka nag-declare yan as unconstitutional, then invalid na itong circular ng DOF at kailangan nilang ibalik yung pera na nakuha na nila sa PhilHealth.
So not just because it's the more recent legislation, kasi it is the more recent legislation, it does not mean that it amends all the other laws before.
Yes, and the Supreme Court has been very strict in terms of yung mga provisions na ganyan na sinasaksak sa batas. Kailangan isa yung tema niya, hindi pwede yung may rider provisions ka. And in this case, nakikita natin itong GAA addition na to, itong provision na to as a rider provision.
I think, ma'am, also the other thing that strikes a lot of people is it's not even the legal issue eh. It's more parang may 90 billion palang floating around sa Pilipinas.
Oo nga. Yun ang nga.
Hindi mo nga nararamdaman yung epekto ng PhilHealth dun sa bill mo pag na-hospital ka. Ang baba-baba. I mean, socially, dapat ang vision talaga natin is a universal healthcare na walang diskriminasyon. Nakabayad ka ng premium o hindi, dapat may access ka sa health services. Isa yung karapatan, no? Yun yung natin yun yung pinapatunguhan natin nag-increase na nga ng 5%. Hindi pa lumalawak yung serbisyo, hindi pa na-enroll lahat may hirap nating kababayan sa PhilHealth. Binabawi na agad yung pera. So I think ang dapat ginagawa ng executive, pukpukin yung PhilHealth para gawin yung trabaho nila. Ngayon, ang sinasabi nila, ito savings, kukuhanin muna natin kasi parang nagawa na ng trabaho PhilHealth nila, ng PhilHealth yung trabaho nila, which is not true.
Tapos I remember, ma'am, last quarter of last year, the PhilHealth naghahabol ng arrears ng 27 billion sa mga ospital. And then earlier, first quarter of this year, naghahabol naman ng 50 billion in arrears sa doctors and hospitals. So, so may mga utang na hinahabol.
Paano nagkaroon ng savings?
Kaya nga, hanggang ngayon may arrears pa actually.
Exactly.
Professor, may element ba dyan ng graft? Is there an element
Lagi namang
na
nare-raise
corruption?
maraming issue ng corruption din na nare-raise sa PhilHealth. Kaya ako sa side natin bilang part ng civil society, yung panawagan natin ay hindi nagtatapos lamang dito sa ibalik yung pera ng PhilHealth, but kailangan imbestigahan na yung mga issues ng corruption na nare-raise sa PhilHealth. Kailangan siguro ng malawakang reorganisasyon, tingnan ng sistema, palawakin yung benepisyo para sa mga mamamayan. Ang minimum na hinihingi po natin ay magkaroon na ng outpatient coverage itong PhilHealth. Batay dun sa estimate ng ating mga kasamang doktor, si Dr. Tony Dance, ang additional cost per person kung magkaroon na ng outpatient is around 1,000 pesos. So kulang pa rin yung 89 billion pesos na excess fund nila. So yun po, dapat hindi natin bitawan itong mga sinusulong nating pagbabago. Yung pagbalik ng pera is not enough to reform PhilHealth. Kailangan po talagang tutukan, pati yung mga corruption dyan, simulan ng linisin.
Pero di ba, Ami, recent years lang, yung buong leadership ng PhilHealth natanggal dahil sa usapin ng corruption. Di ba? Kaya talagang malalim yung usapin ng corruption sa PhilHealth. Pero mas fundamental yung sinasabi ni Yusek na yung poorest 20% ay 1% lamang ang nakikinabang. Tapos isosoli mo pa itong tawag nila Joey Salceda ay excess funds. No? Itong mga funds na ito ay dahil sa incompetence, dahil sa inefficiency. And possibly corruption. No? So, bakit gagawin yan? Na hindi lang, actually very, very clear na ito ay illegal as well as immoral. Itong gagawin na ito.
And if you may complete the story, Yusek.
Ngayon gusto ko talagang ipaalam sa lahat ng mga tao na kung kayo ay hindi kayang magbayad ng premium, kung kayo ay senior citizen, pumunta po kayo sa LGU nyo. Dapat ini-enroll kayo ng local government unit nyo sa PhilHealth.
Okay. And if we may complete the
kailan
story,
nyo i-file
Yusek.
to? Yung case, when are you filing it? Within the week kaya?
Tinatarget po namin na within the week ma-file yung case kasama yung iba't ibang sektor, pati na rin ang ating mga doktor. So hopefully by Friday may ma-file natin. Kung hindi po matapos, we'll do it early next week.
Okay. Anyway, Yusek, I meant to ask that what's being done is to complete the story, may excess fund di umano, kinukuha yung excess fund na yan para pondohan yung mga unprogrammed appropriations of budget na ginawa ng Kongreso. Parang ganun po ba yan?
Mahabang kwento, na originally programmed, pero nilipat nila sa unprogrammed para yung kanilang mga pork barrel, yung mga pet projects, yun ang ilagay na may pondo.
Naku, ang daming flood
Di ba
control
binawal
yan.
na yan? Isn't there a Supreme
short,
Court ruling na...
daming flood
The
control
Supreme
yan.
Court ruling on the PDAP says you cannot earmark after yung submission ng di ba? Pag na-approve na, hindi ka pwedeng mag-earmark na meron ng pondo na in-approve. Di ba yun yung principle sa pagbabawal ng pork?
Yes, actually iba naman na yung pork barrel ngayon. Yung pork barrel is hindi na binababa yung pondo sa mga congressman at senador natin. Ini-insert na lang yung kanilang mga pet projects sa iba't ibang executive offices.
Right.
So, halimbawa, papagawa ng multipurpose building sa aking distrito, kailangan malabi ko yun. Sigurado kung may pondo.
Yeah.
So, minsan, shortly after the passage of the GAA, ang DPWH may binabanggit na bigla na lang may mga projects na kailangan nilang implement o ni walang feasibility study. So natuloy ako, tinignan ko yung budget ng DPWH. From their original proposal na around 800 billion, naging 900 billion yan. Lumaki ng 100 billion budget ng DPWH. So definitely, itong buong exercise na to ng PhilHealth money, getting the PhilHealth money, yung unappropriated, definitely, nangangamoy ng corruption.
Pero yung binabanggit mo, yung the congressman will propose a project, basta pre-propose niya at napondohan, approve within the budget process, okay lang yun, di ba? Hindi naman siya yung pork barrel. Ang problema, kapag biglang isiningit, na-approve na actually yung, meron ng approval ng funding, tapos later isisingit, yun yung bawal.
Yeah. Hindi po pwede yan.
Oo.
Pag post-enactment.
So itong ginagawa nila ngayon sa PhilHealth, may nature yan na, yun na nga, pupunta, we're going to impound the savings savings quote unquote, and putting it in the common fund for the unprogrammed. Di ba
Yes.
yun yung binawal ng Supreme Court, di ba?
Although yung mga unprogrammed items, nakalista din po yan. Originally,
Agency, mga ganon.
Yes, there were only 8 items na nasa unprogrammed appropriation when the executive branch proposed it. After the BICAM meeting and when it was approved by Congress, naging around 51 items itong unprogrammed activities and projects.
Okay. Maraming salamat for talking to us, former Finance Undersecretary Shelo Magno. Ma'am, maraming salamat po.
Salamat, Yusek.
Maraming
Thank you,
salamat
Professor.
po. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, thanks for joining the Storycon today. Ami Pamintuan, Editor-in-Chief of the Philippine Star, and Ronald Llamas, our resident political pundit.
Join us again tomorrow at 4 p.m. for the Storycon. I'm Ed Lingao.
I'm Patrick Paez. We are One News, all sides, all the time.